Hello, I'm David Breeden. I'm the Senior Minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, a historically humanist congregation, and this is Coffee and Wisdom, when we talk a little bit about how the cultural conditions of religion and spirituality in the U.S. have developed, what that has to do with humanism, past, present, and future. Today, I want to talk a little bit about one of the major, if not the most important event in contemporary or modern religious history here in the United States, and that's the 1893 World's Parliament of Religions, which was held at the Columbian Exhibition, usually called the Chicago World's Fair. In 1893, it was there to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Columbus's discovery, quote unquote, of America. This was an extremely popular, media-rich time, and it really changed the religious landscape in the United States forever. Here is a little brochure from the time, World's Fair, Parliament of Religions, the world's great religions clearly defined by their greatest living exponents, the religions of the world. But you do notice, and this is, of course, the kind of egocentrism and Eurocentrism that was going on at the time, the world's religions, but guess which one is portrayed here? We've got, yes, the dove of peace flying down, but we also have the Christian cross symbol and the U.S. Right there in the center of the globe, and definitely also a Protestant Christian view of how religions work in the world. The interesting thing is that some of the planners who were involved were Unitarian and Universalist women, and they did set about trying to find actually some of the best religious leaders of the world, get them to Chicago in order to talk at this World's Fair. Those of you who know Chicago, by the way, the building where the Parliament of World Religions took place is nowadays the Chicago Art Institute, the old part of the building. And there's even a marker inside a plate saying where the dais was for people talking. So let's take a little bit about what these people came up with. And here's an example of one that came along. It was a Sri Lankan Buddhist poet, a practitioner. And when he came in, he sat on the dais in the classic lotus position, and he said this to the large crowd gathered: "How many of you have read the life of Buddha?" Well, only 5 hands were raised, and we probably can bet that probably 4 of those 5 were Unitarian women. And then he says, 5 only, 475 million of people accept our religion of love and hope. You call yourselves a nation, a great nation, and yet you do not know the history of this great teacher. How dare you judge us? Well, there's your voice coming out of the colonized world. People of color speaking up about their denigrated religions and colonized world. But, you know, guess what? You always get more flies with honey than with vitriol. And so his words have more or less been lost to time, and you probably haven't heard of this guy. However, there was another guy there who had been invited, Swami Vivekananda. If you look at this black and white picture, one of the interesting things, here they are waiting for Vivekananda to speak. On the far right over here, this is Nikola Tesla, the guy, not the car. Now, what was he doing at a World Parliament of Religions? Good question, and I can't tell you how he got on the dais with the most famous speaker of the day. But there you go, something was going on. Vivekananda was asked to close out these sessions for the World Parliament of Religions. And he got up and said this: "I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. Now, do remember, of course, that India is a colony of Great Britain at this time. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I am proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian nation. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings in India, parenthetically, as the different streams have their sources in different paths, which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee, capital T, thee, meaning God. So you see the point that Vivekananda is going to be making here at the Parliament of World Religions. He went on to say, I do not come to convert you to a new belief. I want you to keep your own belief. I want to make the Methodist a better Methodist, the Presbyterian a better Presbyterian, the Unitarian a better Unitarian. I want to teach you to live the truth, to reveal the light within your own soul. Now, as an ending for this grand event, to have a Hindu from occupied India come in and essentially upstage all the other religions by saying, you know, we are the one that accepts you, not the other way around, and we are the religion of peace and tolerance and truth. This kind of caught everybody up short, shall we say, and he was the absolute hit of the day. You will see this is a stamp from India celebrating in 2013 his 150th birth anniversary. And yeah, that's the Chicago Art Institute behind and the dais that we were looking at earlier with Tesla over there. Vivekananda is remembered in India as the savior of India for igniting the movement that led to independence in 1947. So he was very, very important in setting up a Hinduism as a legitimate world religion. And then he goes on a speaking tour. Now, he was talking in October of 1893. He was a person of color. And so even in the North, most of the rail cars were still segregated. He was several times beaten up on railroad platforms for being in the wrong place as a person of color. And he was barred from speaking at most public events. However, one of his invitations, and this is November of 1893, so a month after the big speech, one of the invitations came from First Unitarian Society. This was the building that was there at the time. This building has since been torn down. It doesn't exist anymore. But Vivekananda came to Minneapolis at the invitation of Reverend Henry M. Simmons, who was the first called minister at First Unitarian Society. He's a fascinating guy I should talk about another time. Basically, he was a Unitarian minister, but he was famous for lecturing on Darwin around the country. And he came from Wisconsin. So here, this is from the Minneapolis Star. Not the Strib, but the Star of 25 November 1893, the Hindu religion. This is the 19th century spelling of Hindu. And also, as I read this, you should notice that this, in his personal effects, which apparently is on display in a museum in India, one of the things is Minnehaha Falls, a postcard that he picked up while he was visiting Minneapolis. This is the newspaper article announcing that he's going to speak at FUS. Brahmanism, in all its subtle attraction, because of its embodiment of ancient and truthful principles, was a subject which held an audience in closest attention last evening at the First Unitarian Church, Minneapolis, while Swami Vivekananda, notice misspelling, expounded the Hindu faith. It was an audience which included thoughtful women and men, for the lecture had been invited by the Peripatetics. That was a group of lay people within FUS at that time. And among the friends who shared the privilege with them were ministers of varied denominations, as well as students and scholars. Vivekananda is a Brahmin priest, and he occupied the platform in his native garb, with caftan on head, orange-colored coat confined at the waist with a red sash and red nether garments. So they didn't exactly know what they looked like at this time. He presented his faith in all sincerity, speaking slowly and clearly, convincing his hearers by quietness of speech rather than by rapid action. His words were carefully weighed, and each carried its meaning direct. He offered the simplest truths of the Hindu religion. Of course, we nowadays know that Hinduism is a many varied thing. He's talking about a very particular form of Hinduism called Vedantism that we'll talk about another time. And while he said that nothing harsh about Christianity, he touched upon it in such a manner as to place the faith of Brahma before all. The all-pervading thought and leading principle of Hindu religion is the inherent divinity of the soul. The soul is perfect, and religion is the manifestation of divinity already existing in man. Notice, by the way, that whoever this anonymous newspaper writer is, I think has been studying a little bit of Unitarian transcendentalism there in order to understand what Vivekananda was even talking about. The present is merely a line of demarcation between the past and future and the two tendencies of man. If the good preponderates, he will move to a higher sphere. This is reincarnation, of course. If the evil has power, he degenerates. These two are continually at work within him. What elevates him is virtue. That which degenerates is evil. And he announces that the end, Kananda will speak at the First Unitarian Church tomorrow morning. And he did, I think, 3 talks then a public one, and then a couple, 2 people within the First Unitarian Society. So Vivekananda, someone very interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about how his ideas begin to permeate through American culture tomorrow. But for now, thanks for listening. Do tune in on 10:30 a.m. Central Time on Sunday and to see our assembly and how we humanists do it. You can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. We've got a Twitter presence, also Instagram. And if you want to help us out keeping the word of humanism out in the world, firstunitarian.org/donate, and you can give on PayPal. Thanks a lot, and enjoy doing some web searching on Vivekananda today. Thank you.